What up? It's your boy, the Incredible Man. Yes, I'm back at it again, and this is Vinland Saga, episode 18, discussion slash review. And I'm sorry that I'm super late, but dude, it was phenomenal, man. And now I understand and I see what everyone has told me countless times to be prepared for the real Canute. Now, this episode, we got the real Canute, and dude is legit boss status, man. The way that this episode ended, he threw off his cape and was like, I will show you how to live your lives in life and death or whatnot, if you get what I'm saying. And he was like, I'll be your king. Dude, that was legit, man. Okay, dude. Oh boy, let's dive right into this episode, because if not, I'm just gonna keep talking how awesome Canute was this episode, man. So yeah, man, let's get it. This episode picked up right after last week's episode, and we see Thorfinn and Thorkel having their fight. And let's be real, their fight it was short. It wasn't really long. Like we panned off and we focused a lot on Canute and the priest, which we found out his name was like Wildebeard or Wildebard or something like that. And we focused on them, and we got a little bit of Thorkel's fight, and then we pretty much just focused on them having their conversation and Canute seeing Ragnar in a dream and us seeing Bjorn go berserk. And we saw glimpses of Askeladd this episode. We saw the fight, but like we were kind of more so looking in on it from the outside, if you get what I'm saying. And we didn't really just have a long drawn out fight. It was glimpses that we saw of the fight, and then we focused on a lot of other stuff heavily this episode, and I was okay with that. I mean, because this episode gave me something that I didn't know, and that is that Thorfinn's mother is related to royalty, or or like a higher class. And he thought it was his father, and Thorkel told him that it was his mother. So now I'm thinking Thorkel is like closely connected to their family, more than just being friends with Thor's, because like seeing that first episode, we saw him with Thor's, and we knew that they were close because they were fighting, and they were fighting a war together. So we knew that he was close with Thor's. But I'm thinking like he's way closer than what I expected, because he knew. There's no way, even being friends with him, he would know that Thorfinn's mother was like, of higher status and almost royalty and stuff. So he either grew up with them, or like he met them like like super early on, because there's no reason for him to know that if him and Thor's were just buddies in the war. There's no reason for him to know that. So there's a lot more going on with Thor's, Thorkel, and Thorfinn's family than what we know. And now I'm super excited to find out what that is, because it was nice for them to touch on that and show us that, and that kind of changed the perspective and the reasoning for the fight. Because Thorfinn was like, oh, okay, well, cool. I'm going to hurt you and I'm going to end you, but be prepared to, like to stay alive enough so you can talk and answer my questions that I have. So then they go on and they start to fight. And Thorfinn he's mind weapon him. Like he can't really officially beat him, but he's injuring him and he's putting marks on him. But they're not doing much damage because Thorkel has on chainmail under him, and Thorfinn is only hitting his outer extremities and nothing vital or any tendons or joint or anything. And then later on in the fight, he decides that's what he's going to focus on. But this episode got real emotional too, man. This episode was a lot more emotional than all of the episodes that we watched thus far. And the only thing close enough I can think of was that made me feel this type of way and made me feel emotional along with this episode would be either episode 3 or 4. I can't remember, where we first got introduced to Askeladd and them fighting Thor's and then taking Thorfinn hostage to kill Thor's and everything. That made me emotional as well. And this was the second episode that made me emotional and a little impactful to everything that's going on. All of the other episodes, I was just like, oh, okay, cool, people dying. So I mean, that was the thing. So then we jump and we see Canute having a dream. He wakes up and he's talking. Well, he wakes up and he's telling the priest that he had a dream and everything. But in this dream, we see him talking to Ragnar, and he kind of got some closure that he needed, but also it was something that he didn't need, because after that, this whole episode shifted gears and we got on a long journey and track to something I'm not going to dive into, but it was the whole religion aspect and what is love and everything. And in that dream, Ragnar told Canute goodbye, and Canute got to say goodbye to Ragnar, so he got that closure. But Canute said something wonderful, man. He said that, well, I wish you were my father, because Ragnar said that I shouldn't have raised you the way that I did, because I raised you like you were my son or like a former son, and I should have raised you like a king. And in that dream sequence, it was very nice for Canute, and he was so happy, but he was upset to see Ragnar go. But I was okay with it because he had that closure that he needed and wanted for so long. But did anybody else notice in the dream that they showed us not a well-off Ragnar? He was the Ragnar that he still had the wound and the blood on his clothing. If you get what, and I think that was one of the things that was very significant to this episode, tying into what the priest had to say and what Canute was feeling, because they didn't give us a wonderful, healthy Ragnar. They gave us the Ragnar that was injured and died and still had the blood on his clothing. That's the Ragnar we saw in the dream. And before you kind of jump on the thing and say anything, Canute never, he never really got to say goodbye. He saw Ragnar because they brought back his body, but that's all he did. And him saying goodbye, that was very good. I really enjoyed that part. So then we have this whole long drawn out spiel about religion and love and what is love and everything between Canute and the priest. And they're going on this whole spiel, and Canute isn't wrapping his head around it. And then the priest tells him that our ancestors, the reason I think this is because our ancestors ruined a lot of stuff. And then, you have the whole symbolism of an apple, and then someone picking the apple, then the apple being eaten, and then only half of the apple being eaten. So Adam and Eve type S thing. So they kind of ruined it for everybody. But the thing with that is, I don't agree with what the priest is saying. A lot of what he's saying made a lot of sense, but I don't agree with what he's saying, because my thing is, I feel like your faith is what sustains you and pushes you forward, and that's just what I feel. But I'm not going to dive into that because that's something totally different. But then we jump back and we see Thorkel asking Thorfinn, what is a true warrior? Because he's been searching for something, and he said that Thorfinn is missing something. But he was like, what is a true warrior? And in that moment, Thorfinn thought about his father. And that's what I really enjoyed. And that's why this episode was so emotional to me. What we had with Canute and Ragnar, what we had with Thorfinn thinking about Thor's, take your pick. And that everything just drawn out. And it was so emotional to me, man. And in that moment, he was thinking about his father, and he was going through a lot of flashes and everything. And then he got real pissed and upset because he was like, that's not fair. He was so mad at Thorfinn for making him think about his father while he's in the middle of this fight. And then he just started going ham and just started cutting stuff left and right. Man, he was going ham. And then their fight was just getting more in depth. And then we jump back to Canute, and we still have him and the priest going on and on. And we see Bjorn just mollywopping people. We know he's on the berserk mushroom, and he is going. This man is ripping people's heads off, smashing people's heads into trees, and whole logs are exploding and everything. And it was fantastic. And that's another thing. The animation was so good to this episode to me. Some parts were a little off, but overall it was wonderfully done. And the weather and everything that was there, like the snow was animated so beautifully, the sky with the movement of the clouds, the snow falling, just all of the worldly stuff that was happening in this episode was absolutely fantastic. And that's what I really, really enjoyed, along with everything else. I really enjoyed the weather of this episode. It was just so good. It was really, really good. So then with this episode wrapping up, we have Canute coming to a realization about what the priest was saying, and it was like, okay, that's cool. So you're saying that death is the only love that we have in this life? And that changed Canute's whole perspective. And he even told him that, what Ragnar felt for him wasn't love, it was discrimination. And going along with that, and how he was looking at Bjorn, and how he was looking at the outlook of how his life turned out and everything, and Canute just changed and done a complete 180, 360, 180, either or. And he changed. This is no longer the Canute of old. This is a new Canute. And dude became a boss, man. Bjorn was in his weird berserk state, and Canute came in and like a king shut it down. And then the dude came and stabbed him, and he was like, you, stop this right now. No more fighting. He'll take care of his wounds. He told the priest, come take care of his wounds, and I'm going to get the horses. Take care of his wounds. So, and then they was like, what's going on? Like, this fight, if you go back to Thorkel, because Canute was like, well, I have to go see Thorkel. And they was like, if you go back to Thorkel, this whole fight was for nothing. That's what I'm saying. Dude, it's so crazy. And he was like, no. Yes, this fight was for nothing, because I'm going to make you all my vassals. This man is a king now, baby. Yes. So then we go back to Thorkel's fight with Thorfinn, and they're going at it, and Thorkel smashes up the snow and gets the drop on Thorfinn, and he kicks this man. Thorfinn, granted, give him credit, he blocked it with the impact of his legs, but he still, dude, this man got shot so high, he was up there with the birds. And when he fell, this is where they were. This is where he fell. Can you see my hand? No. That's how far he fell. That was crazy, man. So that's why I love Thorkel. And this episode really made me fall in love with him more, because I know that now that there's something connecting him and Thor's and Thorfinn's family. And then we have Askeladd this episode really not doing much, but that one moment stood out to me when Thorfinn fell. When Thorfinn fell from the tree, fell from the heavens and landed on the ground. Askeladd, he used that at the ending of it. He was like, well, there's my one chance. But he looked so hurt when Thorfinn got hurt, man. So that was my thing. And I was like, okay, I see you, dude. I see you. But that's all that happened in this episode, man. And dude, I loved every moment. We got a new Canute, and that is the highlight of this episode, man. This is your boy, Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life, man. Peace out.